please put your hands together for Mr. Chris Silcox.
So I've been introduced for comedy shows in several different ways, but never, hey guys, guess what? Everyone thought my dad was a child molester, but he's not. Here's Chris Silcox. So that's awesome. Bane's pretty fantastic. You know who else is fantastic? Bane's great uncle who inspired him to show business. The wonderful Griffith right here. I'm pretty sure this is your great uncle who was like a show star, or perhaps he was like a country western star, but also a daredevil. He did stunts. He would like get shot out of a cannon while playing like a twanging guitar and stuff. It's pretty cool. Also, I want to say a big thank you for Caroline for leaving some paintings for me to riff on, because she left me some very good ones. Right over here, a lot of people don't know this sort of fact of Georgia history, but before we were the Peach State, we considered being the Pear State. And the same artist who drew those I'm a Georgia voter logos also drew I'm a Georgia voter logo on a peach. This is an original prototype of that art. So it's very wonderful. Also, if you've ever seen a movie that's featured a walrus, of course you recognize this guy. This is the most famous walrus actor in the world. His name is Wilhelm von Staffelskilth. And Wilhelm was a great walrus performer. We're really just inspired. I'm so inspired to be performing on a stage that he once performed on when he inaugurated the first show. It's sad that he's not here, because I would really wish that Wilhelm knew that your dad wasn't a child molester thing. But if any of you see him, he's around sometimes. You can't miss him. He's a walrus. Be sure to let him know. Over here, I think this is my personal favorite, because I just love the idea that some artist was a really big fan of Star Wars. And was just like, what if I reimagined Grand Admiral Thrawn as a proud Latin American woman wearing traditional garb? It's pretty great. So it's really wonderful. And then finally, you know that whole clowns are in the woods everywhere thing? This is the cursed painting that started it all. Guys, this really shouldn't be a music/comedy show. It should be an art event, because we're in a very cultural and sort of very much heritage area, if you want to be grammatical about it. I realized as I was saying, I'm like, Chris, you have an English degree. Those aren't real words. Can you do nothing right? Very much heritage area. Thank you so much. I agree. That should be, you know, we've got these like whole Georgia signs that like you see them on highways and they're like, this is a historic place. I'm pretty sure those are the very much heritage area signs. That sounds like something our state would be up to. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad. Well, it's because we are all Georgia people-ish. We all speak the language around here. We understand that in Georgia is the reason that in the English language the word culture can describe the sort of art, heritage, and language of people, and also bacteria growing in a lab. That's where we got that from. It's very useful. So, guys, speaking of American culture, have y'all heard of John Hancock before? Pretty cool figure, known for writing his name really big on the Declaration of Independence, and everyone was like, oh, it was a really bold statement. He really stuck it to the British right there, making sure that everyone knew that like he was proud to be American. That's not true. I'm sorry to break that to you. The Declaration of Independence was written on unlined paper, and if paper doesn't have lines on it, it's very hard to tell how big something you're writing is until after you've written it. They were at Continental Congress, and he was like, I'll sign first, and he signed his name, and everyone's like, John, you idiot. You really screwed this. They're never going to take us seriously now. Look, they're going to send redcoats over here. Look, this is actually a picture of them, all of them right here, reading the Declaration of Independence. You see how they're like jovial and laughing? They're laughing at John Hancock. They're like, look at these American idiots. They don't know how to write names. So anyways, a few days later, after signing the Declaration of Independence, they were around Continental Congress doing stuff, and someone spilled some ink on some paper, and they were like, oh, crap, I really John Hancocked that one, guys. And it got a good laugh, a nice chuckle, but John Hancock was like, no, because no one wants to be the person whose name means screwing up. But it stuck. And people started referring to John Hancocking things as any time you messed up something. And John Hancock couldn't have this. And so He did what any wealthy man in the 1700s could do. He started a rebranding campaign. He took his fortune and he started like buying billboards all around just sort of pre-colonial America, and was just like, John Hancock for the package. And then he'd have people go to college campuses and they'd be like, hey, would you John Hancock this petition over high tea taxes? And they'd sign all those things. And after a few years of doing this, eventually it caught on until the first dictionary came out. And John Hancock picked it up and he's like, yes, perfect. And he ran all the way to Washington. He found George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and said, guys, look, the dictionary came out. And look at this. John Hancock, one, person who signed the Declaration of Independence. That's me. And then definition 2, slang, a word meaning a signature. So, looks like I'm not a screw-up anymore. And George Washington sort of awkwardly looked over to Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was like, yeah, you gotta... And then George was like, listen, John, that's cool and all, but you spent several years of your life and millions of dollars to make your name mean a signature. We just became president. You really John Hancocked that one, man. Sucked. In the same dictionary John Hancock read, there was a word called ampersand. Have y'all heard the word ampersand before? It just is a squiggly shape you draw if you're too lazy to write 2 extra letters to spell out the word and. But it sounds so fancy. Guys, ampersand could be anything. We're all people that are either are or try to be cool. So we probably walk around and like say ampersand to other people. Like when our friends are like, hey, what did you? And it's like, oh, we went to a cool little party, and then after that, my fiance and I, we were planning our trip for a chalet in Ampersand, France. And people are just like, oh man, oh, that's so cool. So I don't know, just if ever you are at loss for words and you want to sound cool and impress someone, just say ampersand very confidently, and they'll be like, oh yeah. Sometimes when I'm trying to be cool, I like to go to art museums, which is why I'm here. So I went to the art museum at UGA's campus the other day. It's free. Y'all should check it out. It's very cool. But as I was walking around, this lady was there, and she was like, hey, you should really check out our special exhibit. It's really awesome. It's right down the hall. And I was like, I'd love to. And so I walked down the hall into the special exhibit, and all the lights were out. And I was like, oh, someone didn't turn the lights on. I better go tell her. And then I went to go, and then I stopped, because what if that was the art? And I didn't know what to do, and so I didn't want to be rude, because like, what if that was the art? And I was that guy who was like, hey, your lights aren't on, and they're like, that's the point, because I didn't want to hurt someone. So I felt my way around until I found something that was hopefully a bench, and sat there for a polite 3 minutes, and then went outside and told the lady it was the best art I'd ever seen. And then as I was driving home that day, I was like, no, that's dumb. It's an art museum. You have to look at it. Otherwise, it can't be art. That's the only requirement. And so I was like, but wait, it was the middle of the day. Surely other people had been to the museum, and nobody had told the lady the art lights were off, which means that everyone before me had also thought that was the art. And everyone had also pretended that they enjoyed it. People must have been going up to that lady left and right like, oh, yeah, I loved that art. It was very neoclassical. Yeah, that art was phenomenal. Like, it just really took my breath away. I'm like, oh, yeah, it had a lot of ampersand to it. It was great. And so that lady went the whole day thinking people loved this art exhibit. And then she went into the art room, and she was like, wow, people loved it. Time to turn the lights off. And, oh, no. No, there's nothing here. Shoot, but everyone loved it. I can't turn them on now. People are telling their friends about it. So she made a pact to herself, buried deep in her soul, that she just wouldn't turn the lights on. And hopefully no one would call her on it. And so she did, and like weeks went by, and people kept not wanting to be the one who didn't get it. And so they kept telling everyone, like, oh yeah, I got that art. It was awesome. And so they all confidently were saying this until eventually art magazines started talking about this art museum. And they were like, yeah, you should really check out the like cool exhibits down in like Georgia. It's really neat. And then the artist who made all the stuff in the gallery found this exhibit, and he was like, oh my God, my art's in magazines. People love my art. They think it's the best. I have to call my parents. They told me the art degree didn't matter, but now it does. I'm going to show them. And so he calls his parents, and they come to the art museum. He's very proud, and he walks into the art museum, and he's like, all right, well, where's the special exhibit hall? And the lady's like, oh, it's right down the hall. You're sure going to love it. And they walked on by, and he's like, all right, Mom, Dad, here it is. Here's my art. And his face falls because the lights are off. And he turns, and his dad is already walking out, and his mom can't see the single tear rolling down his face because the lights are off. And he just thinks to himself, wow, I really John Hancocked that. All right, thank you guys so much. Have a fantastic night.
Chris Silcox, one more time, everyone. That was awesome.